Welcome everyone to episode 11 of the Irish Bowls podcast, Jack in the Box. It's Ian and Chris here as always, and we're located today once again at the home of PGL Bowls, Ballymena Bowling Club. Chris, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Ian. Nice actually to arrive in Ballymena and it's not raining. Normally you drive through everywhere else, lovely weather, you arrive in Ballymena and it's slashing. Come through rain other places and I'm here to sunshine, so it's nice to look out.
Well, we'll give the plaudits to our technical support director, Ali Coleman, for that, for hosting us in Ballymena and providing a glorious sunny day.
Yep.
Chris, we have plenty to talk about today on the show.
We have. There's lots has happened since our last episode, yes, so plenty to cover.
As we're drawn to a conclusion of the outdoor bowling season, time really just flies in. Funny enough, I was down at CYM Bowling Club just over the weekend at the Men's National Championships, and I was speaking to two avid podcast Jack in the Box followers in Kyle Hutton and Will Calvin. So they were very keen to know when our next episode was going to be. So just want to give a big shout out to them. Say hello. Obviously, Chris, you're aware of the two young guys.
Yes, good to know we have some young listeners as well as the sort of older contingent as well who tend to mention the podcast. So good to know it's hitting the range of ages.
Well, Kyle's 18 and Will is actually only 12. Although I think he's 12 going on about 25.
Yeah, you might just about remember that far back. Obviously, I can't.
To be honest. But funny, Will approached me on the Friday night and he approached me to go and play for Korean Bowling Club next season. I thought it was an interesting offer. So I said to him, I says, well, what's your terms and conditions or what can you offer me? So he was very keen to point out that he couldn't offer me very much. However, there was a spot third to Davy Gale and Korean senior team up for grabs. Now, he didn't say if I would get it or not, but he said it was up for grabs.
Bound to be quite enticing, that, isn't it, really?
Well, I told him I would think about it and I would come back to him sooner rather than later. So a big shout out to the guys, Kyle and Will. Chris, I suppose in our recap of all things Irish Bowls, there's no better place to begin with than at the Men's National Championships over the weekend at CYM, hosted by Irish President Ollie O'Brien. I will start off by saying Ollie was mowing the green, Ollie was on bar duty, Ollie was umpiring. So it was the Ollie O'Brien show. However, I'm sure he had a good team of support staff there as well.
Yes, that's it. I was down on the Saturday for a while myself and I did see Ollie out doing a few different tasks.
A few chores.
Yes. So good to see the president keeping himself involved.
Very much so.
Just to recap, obviously they had a very good weekend down at CYM. Just going through the winners, the under-18 singles was Dylan McElroy. The under-25 singles, Jaden Kyle. Under-25 pairs, Stephen Harvey and Ian Jingles. The singles, Richie Leonard. The pairs, Martin McAleese and Willie McCaw. The triples, John Leonard, Nicky Smith and Shane Leonard. The rinks, Robbie Maher, Eamon Carruth, Richie Leonard and Shane Leonard. And the senior rinks, Richard Kelly, Robert Toner, John Leonard and Paul Smith. Fair to say it was a fairly good weekend for the Leonard family.
The Crumlin show, Chris?
Something like that, yes. Obviously, home advantage helped, I think. Obviously, they're not their home green, but they play in CYM quite a lot. But yeah, played some good bowls, and obviously they all managed to get 2 titles each, so there's going to be no bragging rights for any of them.
No, phenomenal achievements across the board for the... I still refer to it as the BLI, but I better not. It's
ILB.
ILB, you keep me right, Chris. But no, phenomenal achievements for the Leonard family especially. Willie McCaw, standout performance also in the pairs, 69 years of age, Chris.
69. I wasn't sure if he quite made 70 or not. Well, we've always said this is a game where you can play very young or as you get on in years. So Willie showed that he still has it there.
Yeah, a great achievement beating 2 of our elite bowlers, Ryan McElroy and Jack Moffat, in a very good competitive pairs final.
Yes. As we always say, it's on the day. No doubt Ryan and Jack probably started favourites going into that in most people's eyes. But produced the bowls and Martin gave him a good, sort of foundation. Martin played fairly well at lead. Willie played a few telling bowls when it was called for.
And of course, as we referred to already, no spring chickens might have been the theme of the weekend as well, with John Leonard, Davy Corkle making a reappearance to the Irish semi-final stage, along with Rodney McCutcheon, Robert Hastings as well. There's life in these old dogs yet, Chris?
Well, it's just classes there. You don't lose that. So mightn't produce it as often, but still more than capable of producing it on occasions.
And probably a big shout out to Richie Leonard as well. Captured his second Irish singles title. No mean feat to win it once, But to back it up, won it twice, and obviously Richie, a former British Isles singles champion as well.
Yeah, Richie's always there, thereabouts. Very rarely is there an Irish semi-finals on that Richie's name doesn't appear in something. So he's normally there, thereabouts, and more than capable of winning any of the title. And we wish all the best when they go to represent Ireland next year in the British Isles.
Probably would be remiss of us, Chris, if we didn't mention our para stalwart, Mr. Paul Smith, 78-year-old, talking about old dogs. He is the oldest of old dogs.
Yes, and as we know, having seen him compete in the para events, he's still as gritty a competitor as he always was. Not easy beat. So he's obviously still got it there.
Absolutely. Just before we move on, Chris, I just want to make a big shout out to Jimmy Bradshaw. I don't know if you know Jimmy.
No, I know Jimmy well.
You know
I saw
Jimmy
him
well.
there, yes.
Big shout out to Jimmy. I first met Jimmy Bradshaw in 1990 at the Leinster tournament along with Barry Moffat and Jeremy Henry and myself. And he always made us very, very welcome. And I was just thinking about it over the weekend. That's a hell of a lot of years ago.
It is.
And the first guy I met getting in the CYM Bowling Green on Thursday evening was Jimmy Bradshaw. He was telling me he's a young and sprightly 86 years of age. So I just thought, fair play.
He doesn't miss too many events now, I have to say.
And Chris, do you remember what his famous catchphrase was? He doesn't say it so much now, but back in the day.
I don't actually.
That's my boy. That was his famous phrase and always raised a smile. Moving on, Chris, to our Ladies National Championships held at Lurgan Bowling Club very recently as well.
Yes, basically that ended up a very good championships for the provincial towns ladies, who came away with 6 titles, and the ILB came away with the other 2. So to go through the results, just the singles winner was Shauna O'Neill. The pairs, Sarah Kelly and Nolene Kelly, again, their record in the pairs is superb. The triples, Rachel Cochran, Hannah Cochran, Shauna O'Neill. The fours, Anne Smith, Margaret Paul, Zoe Stratton and Sophie McIntyre. The senior fours, Margaret Byrne, Jennifer Heed, Valerie Lurgan and Nolene Kelly. The under-25 singles, Sophie McIntyre. The under-25 pairs, Hannah Cochran and Rachel Cochran. And the under-18 singles was Brooke Sterling. So again, a number of people there with a couple of titles.
Absolutely. And your highlights, Chris, from that in terms of the winners?
I don't know. I mean, obviously there was a fairly strong lineup in some of them. Shauna stands out again, winning the singles. She's won that a few times. She's always hard to beat. And that, like I mentioned when I was saying it, the record that Sarah Kelly and Nolene Kelly have over the last few years. I'm not sure exactly how many times they've won it, but it's a few. They've done it very well.
What club are they from again?
Same.
Crumlin. Big shout out to Crumlin.
Crumlin's had a very, very good Irish.
This is the Crumlin show
finals
today.
Yeah.
Fair call.
And senior fours as well.
And Jennifer Heed, who's...
Nolene skipping the senior fours.
Jennifer, who's the wife of long-term Irish bowler Pat Heed, who's sadly passed. But yeah, great to see Jennifer capturing that title as well. But
again, a few titles for Limavady and the younger ladies as well.
Yes, again, very, very strong bowling club.
Ballymoney, Sophie winning the under-25 singles and then skipping the 4.
Yeah. A lot of the same names coming through, Chris, over the last few years.
Yeah, it does. And we saw that in the indoor championships as well. There's a number of ones and a number of younger girls who have, come on a lot over the last few years, and they're now winning titles.
Fantastic. I believe it was a really good weekend at Lurgan Bowling Club.
Good weekend. Again, I got down on one of the days, just the Friday. I was busy. We got down on the Friday for Ireland, and the green looked to be in reasonable condition. But like most things, when you try to get 6 rinks, it's hard to get 6 good rinks in any green, no matter where you go. So a little bit tricky in times, but the standard of bowls was fairly good. Yeah, fair play. No, that seems to be a bit of a theme across the championships weekends in August and September, trying to get 6 rinks and 6 playable rinks. It's outdoor bowls at the end of the day. And yep, same for everybody.
It's not a picture book, but no, all good. So that's our national championships wrapped up for another year, Chris. Yes, it is. And again, same with the men. Obviously, our ladies there, we wish them all the best when they compete in the British Isles next year. It's hard to beat winning an Irish title. Fair call, fair play, fair dues. Nice way to finish the season. Chris, moving on to our team championships, the Irish Cups. So over the last couple of weeks, we've had our finals, and I believe you were either there or you've had a bit of a recap. Really only one place to start in. Congratulations to yourself and Portrush again on retaining the Senior Cup title. Very, very hard to win once. Not many clubs managed to retain it. I believe you're the first provincial club that has managed to retain the title. So have to say hats off to Portrush. Probably in most people's eyes, not starting as favourite, playing against Dumbarton in the final, but you've proved that obviously, I know
From personal experience, you have a good record against Dumbarton over the years, and obviously produced it on the day, on a very wet and rain interrupted day.
That was, Chris, yeah.
I think if actually everybody had got playing on in the rain, they'd probably finished at the same time as you, but that wasn't the case. They had to come off the green at the same time.
Very true.
But I have to say, a tremendous achievement for Portrush to win back-to-back Irish Senior Cups.
Pretty amazing, Chris, pretty special. One of the key factors in that, of course, would have been the fact that you tipped Dumbarton and not Portrush, so that stood us in good stead. I knew we had a glimmer.
Give you a better chance.
I knew we had a glimmer, but no, it was a tremendous day for the club to go back-to-back. It's just surreal and pretty unbelievable, pretty special in the world of Irish bowls, to be honest. Portrush has had a bit of up and down season in terms of the league. Went pretty well up to the 12th holidays. A little bit indifferent after that. Maybe the eye was on the big prize. Who knows? I'm not sure.
Sometimes you just end up having a good cup run and people just
produce it. You know yourself, Chris.
Not necessarily winning the league. So you know yourself, you only have to play well in one day or have one rink. And obviously Gary McCloy's rink, I think it was 2 rinks each with Dumbarton, but obviously Gary McCloy's rink had the big win. And that's what you need, one rink getting a good up. I think
JP, Fahy and Johnny Reid up front especially were absolutely phenomenal. I think.
Give a good foundation, obviously, so they did.
I think, Jackie did what he had to do and Gary just does what Gary does and bowled absolutely superb himself and just, great to actually beat the best team in the country. And I think most bowlers would agree that Dumbarton are the premier team. So I
don't know. I mean, you could argue that there's a few clubs that obviously go fairly well. I mean, Dumbarton have won the Private Greens League again, but Old Bleach, good runners up to them, so there's still 2 or 3 clubs that were there, so it's hard to know. Jackie did ring me on the Monday morning and gave me a rundown on it, probably a fairly honest rundown for Jackie, because he did say he wasn't that great up until the rain,
and
then played better when he went off. He did tell me he fell.
He did fall,
but said that he played better once he went back out after the rain. He said he was able to get them up then. Jackie's sort of problem with shortness, but he was able to get them up when they went back
business. Yeah, very good. And Chris, obviously there was a very close game on the other side of the green as well.
The 2 really good teams for that level intermediate cup, Dumbarton B and Ballymoney B. Both very experienced, a lot of experienced players, but Dumbarton with a sprinkling of younger players as well.
Saw that, Chris, 5 or 6 of the young guns.
Again, 2 good sides, a really good battle. Dumbarton pipped up a 1 shot.
The difference between winning that game and losing it is just astronomical. That elation of the high and just the low. And I was speaking to some of the Ballymoney guys and, obviously felt for them immensely, but appreciate the buzz that the Dumbarton guys, speaking to Matthew Adamson, who's a great fella and friend of mine, and just such a great buzz just to get over the line.
Yeah, very much so. As you know yourself, if it's a tight game, having won some tight games yourself, I think tie end against Bangor, wasn't it, there, Senior Cup, and that. So when you get over the line in a really close game,
I know, it's a great buzz.
It just really, feels you. But it's the same as a down. I mean, you always say, well, it was close, it was a good game, but you don't get any applause for coming second, unfortunately.
No, that's the highs and lows of the sport.
And then the Junior Cup, Ballywalder won that, beating Brook Green. I think it was a fairly comfortable win. I think there was one rink had a draw, and the other 3 rinks, Ballywalder, were fairly well away. So Ballywalder's a very good side. They
would have thought so, Chris.
They went down a league last year, which obviously allowed them to win to the Junior Cup, but they're probably a better team than that level. So
yes,
I strongly favoured Ballywalder to win that.
Big shout out to Brook Green. That would be their first Irish Cup final experience. Obviously, the Provincial Association's 100th year, so pretty special for Brook Green to get to the final, and indeed for Portrush to win it in the 100th year of the Provincial Association. So, no, fair dues to Brook Green, but probably you're right, Ballywalder are probably a very worthy winner.
Yeah.
McMaster Cup, Chris, the ladies' equivalent.
Yes, the ladies' equivalent Irish Cup, yes. Again, as we know, got it up and running this year again. So they held their semi-finals and final at Lurgan. So the 4 teams have played off in each association, just for any listeners not aware of how they did it this year. It's 2 triples, played off in each association until you had an association winner. And then they came together and there was an open draw in the morning. So Ballymena played Crumlin in one semi-final, Ewart played Market Hill in the other. Ballymena and Ewart emerging victorious in those semi-finals. And then Ballymena beat Ewart, I believe, by 5 shots in the final. Close. I think it was 1 game drawn and the other 1 by 5, so close enough final, but superb. Just to say, I think there were close to 30 clubs entered it.
Brilliant.
And then there are 30 teams, because obviously some clubs were able to put more than 1 team in, which I think about 3 maybe did. So, but 30 teams in it for the first year it's up and running. I think it's great to have that going again.
Yeah, well, big shout out to Ballymena for obviously achieving that success, fair play. But probably the greater story there is the fact that it's actually being played again.
Yeah.
I think that's tremendous.
Yeah. And with most, there's ones, I think in the past, it hasn't been on for quite a few years. And one of the reasons I believe it stopped was because people didn't want to travel long distances. But you now have ones, this year sort of thinking, well, you're playing against your own association clubs, would like to actually play against somebody else. So it's, as was said at the start, always can be tweaked. Once you get it up and running, it's going. You can always look at it, how it went, review it, and if they decide to bring in some tweaks next year, as long as it keeps going, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think it's part of that bigger puzzle in terms of trying to rejuvenate, reignite ladies' bowls, not only at club level, elite level, but get more women into sport and bowls is our sport.
Yeah, and I think it was a great spectacle yesterday and a very good day because you had 2 semi-finals on in the morning, then luncheon in the final, so I think it made a good day of it as well.
Chris, that leads us nicely into some of our other events played over the summer since our last episode of our podcast. Under 18 Internationals held in Ayr late July.
Yes, Under 18 International, 20th and 21st of July. The team in the end played 24, won 9, drew 1 and lost 14. Ended up a shot difference of minus 29, so that's not a lot. But they had a fine victory in their last session against Wales, which meant that they finished third,
very good.
With England being victorious in the session. So I believe just talking, obviously wasn't at it, but talking to a few people who are at it, a lot of good performances. I think most, if not all the players ended up with at least one victory and some more victories, than that. Brilliant. So, it's good. It's a good betting in for a lot of them,
Of course it is.
It's
the first rung on the pathway. Yeah. It's the first taste of international bowls and obviously there's a lot of bright futures there.
But as sort of bringing younger ones into bowls is hard, and we wouldn't have a great number over in Ireland compared to where they have in the other countries. So when you go at the international level to actually be pipping, any of the countries is very good. So actually get ahead of Wales was a good achievement for them.
Fair call. Big shout out to the guys and girls in under 18 international team, Chris. Yeah.
Moving on, next event I have down was the Ladies Senior Inter Association. That was held in Ward Park on the 25th and 26th of July. It was won by the Northern Ireland Women's Private Greens League. With 25 points, they won all 3 games. The provincial towns ladies were runners-up with 20 points.
Very, very strong performances by the ladies PGL.
Yeah. Obviously just managed to win all 3 games. Under 25 Inter Association was held in Belmont same weekend, down to 1 day, because there were just 3 associations compete. The IALB didn't field a team. It was won by the PGL. Even though there was 5 disciplines in each game, PGL only won 2 out of the 5 games in each of the 2 games they played.
So the format was slightly different this year, Chris. In terms
format
of
was down to pairs and triples, singles
and fours.
So it was a different format. 10 players, I think, possibly.
Yeah.
But there still was, a number of points for the overall score. Whether that's the right way to do it or not, because the PGL played 10 disciplines and won 4, but they won the overall score against both.
Yeah.
All close games. The games were won by 1 shot, 3 shots, and 8 shots overall.
Really
so
close.
Nothing in it,
really
could have went in it. But again, whether that format needs tweaked is obviously something they need to review. Just consider. Well,
obviously that was their first year.
First time they did it. So whether they
that.
decide that it's right the way it is, or whether they sort of think that there maybe shouldn't be so much emphasis. I'm always dubious about emphasis on overall scores whenever you have a singles game involved in it, because you could have somebody just a big high score in a singles more than other games, and that can sway them.
And hopefully over time, we might see our friends from the south coming back into that as well, Chris, to make it a proper event, if you like.
It's a much better event if you have 4 associations. So, all being well, that'll be something that they will, work towards and try and ensure they have a team, in the future.
And Chris, obviously on from that, the men's international junior team would have been picked under 25 side.
Yes, well, the men were picked following that. Obviously, it's a mixed now, the ladies of the thing. So I have the ones that are picked for the international team, which is the under 25 international, being played in Ayr in Scotland on the 13th and 14th of September. The men are Jaden Kyle, Ian Jingles, Adam Crummy, Peter Hockey, William Orr, Daniel Spratt, Cian McMiniman, Jordan Rankin, who's a captain, Colm O'Brien, Bradley Sterling, Darrell Perkins, Nathan Minish, Dylan McElroy and Carter Hearn. And the ladies are Amy Carruth, Gracie Castley, Hannah Cochran, Rachel Cochran, Ellie Fraser, Erin Fraser, Isabel Lurgan, Zoe Minish, Sophie McIntyre, Lorna McMullen, who's captain on the ladies' side, Isabel Ruby Nolan, Laura Rainey, Brooke Sterling and Chloe Wilson. So we wish all them the best, and that's played obviously now as I think you have a separate men's event, a ladies event, and an overall event.
Seems to me to be quite a strong side on paper. You can never go with paper, of course, but
no, but you look
generally
through,
speaking,
there's a number of names there, on both the men's and ladies side that have been involved and had some success at international level and played a number of international events. So obviously that should bode well for that.
Jordan Rankin, he's the captain. He's still under 25, is he?
Hard to believe. Jordan seems to have been around for a long time.
Dear, oh dear. I'd be checking the birth certificate, Chris. But don't be saying that.
It's maybe just you're getting older.
Can never catch you, Chris. Chris, a number of pathway events have been over the last few weeks.
Yes, and again, I think just with a busy season, hard to get these in. So the JPL, the Junior Premier League, had 2 sessions this year. One in Lurgan and then the final stay at Ballymoney on the 17th of August. The winners were Stratton Strikers. We ended up with a total of 77 points, and the players involved in that were Holly McCulloch, Isaac Cockcroft, Taylor Davison, Kirsty Burns, AJ Dodds, Joyce Thompson, Brooke Sterling, Daniel Spratt, and Zoe Stratton, who was the captain of that. I have to say, from the 2 days at Lurgan and Ballymoney, there were over 55 players involved in that. So I think it's tremendous to get that number of young players out on the ground.
Yeah, and bought into the programme as well.
Yeah, and playing competitive bowls, which is what they need just to improve. And following on from that, then there was an first time this has been run under 21 mixed and open pairs, which was held in Dumbarton on the 24th of August. They managed to get a total of 42 under 21 people playing in that, which I think is great.
Very good.
So it is. The winners and runners-up were as follows. In the mixed pairs were won by Zoe Stratton and Jaden Kyle. The runners-up, Amy Carruth and Adam Crummy.
Very good.
And the open pairs was won by William Robson and Jack Kidd, with the runners-up Aidan Scarlett and Joshua Jameson.
Big dog Kidd. Yeah, he can bowl, the boy. Very good.
But again, you're coming up with the same names in these things, coming up on that. So, it's obviously they're getting a lot of competitive
But the good news
bowls,
story there, Chris, really is the fact that they're now as a competitive pathway events for these guys and girls coming through under 18, under 21, under 25 level. There's plenty of opportunities then to progress up the ladder into your high performance and elite level bowls.
When I think back to my day in, which is a long time ago,
you've a good memory, Chris. Yeah.
Under 35 was the lowest I went to.
I know.
And just sort of as I was coming to just over 25, it moved to under 25. So it's great to see younger ones coming in, and we do need to provide the opportunities for them to play at competitive level. So having those under 21, under 21, 18 events, it's super.
Chris, up and coming events?
Up and coming events just started today as we're recording this. The European Under 25 Championships, singles and mixed pairs. Our representatives in the singles are Daniel Spratt and Zoe Stratton, and then our representatives in the mixed pairs are Zoe Stratton and Stephen Kirkwood.
The reigning champions, I should add.
Yep. So we obviously wish that's been played in Jersey this week, so we wish all of them all the best.
Absolutely.
During that. And then the other up-and-coming event that's happening later this month is the Atlantic Challenge, which is played between Scotland, the USA, Canada and Ireland. Last year it was all mainstream bowlers. This year they've actually added a para element to it.
Fantastic.
Which 3 of the countries are taking up. USA I don't think have any para side, but Canada, Scotland and Ireland are. So the players going to that on the ladies' side is Sarah Kelly, Rachel Cochran, Hannah Cochran, Laura Rainey and Chloe Wilson. For the men, Ryan McElroy, Mark Wilson, who's captain, Shane Leonard, Mark Foster and yourself. Late replacement, I think. On the para side, Mark Cairns, Tom Evans, Glenn Kaufman and Paul Smith, who are all some of our physically disabled players, and then Michael Reid and Liz Thompson, our 2 visually impaired players, and the 2 directors going along with them are Anne Smith and Tom Thornbury. So, it's great. It's the first event that's actually been involved, mainstream and para. So it's good to see that, and hopefully it will continue.
Yeah, and that's in Windsor in Canada.
Windsor in Canada, yes.
Yeah. No, a great initiative that has been supported by the 4 countries, and especially the 3 countries that have included para, are trying to build in their para legacy and stuff like that. So that should be fun to report back on, I have to say.
Yes.
Chris, I believe there's a couple of vacant positions within Irish Bowls.
Just sort of finishing off, yes, there's a couple of vacancies that's coming up. So just to any of our listeners, if you're not aware, the IWBA have advertised looking for a junior team manager. Details are on the IWBA website. And if you're interested in that, the closing date for applications are the 27th of September. And also the AIIB are looking for a team manager. Again, details are on the website or Facebook, and the closing date for that is the 30th of September. So if anybody's interested in either of those positions, they can get details on the website or phone up their respective secretaries who can give them more information.
And Chris, although we're not having a private conversation here, I'm still going to ask this. Do you have any interest in either position? I've heard a few rumours.
Yeah, you can ignore the rumours. The simple answer is no.
Oh, right, okay. Right, well, I thought, there you go. My sources has let me down once again.
I thought you were more likely maybe to go to a team manager, but maybe you don't think you're just past it yet. You're maybe still hoping to play a year or two. Maybe?
Well, I don't know. Some would say I should be packing it in, but listen, that's for others to decide. Type of thing. Right. Probably one thing just to conclude with, Chris. Obviously, we're transitioning from outdoor to indoor. I did note the stadiums, the three stadiums. Belfast Indoor Bowls Club, the County Antrim Indoor Bowls Club, and Ballybreaks Community Indoor Bowls Club in Ballymoney have open days at the moment, and they are progressing. They obviously either have been or are in situ, if you like. But I know they're advertising for new members.
Yes, very much. I think all of the stadiums are aware, we don't have the same numbers involved indoor. So any of the three stadiums, if you're interested in trying out indoor bowls, nice thing about that is you don't get wet anytime you come to play. Any of the stadiums would be glad to see you. So if you're anywhere near the locations, drop it in at some stage, try it out. You may like it. I mean, all three clubs are very welcoming and have good facilities as well.
So give it a go. Why not? We're delighted to be joined by one of Ireland's elite lady players, Sarah Kelly from Crumlin Bowling Club. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on to the Irish Bowls podcast, Jack in the Box.
Hi, Ian. Thanks for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be asked. Thanks for the invite.
Good stuff. No problem at all. I know that Chris and I had you on our radar for quite a while, Chris.
Yes, we did. When we discussed sort of different people we'd like to have, Sarah was fairly well up there. So we got round. We thought it's time. Most of the ones we've had on, I think everybody's been up from up north. So I thought it was time we had somebody down from the ALB direction in the south. And Sarah's obviously been at the top of the game for quite a while. So a good choice.
Well, so hopefully I can rep for them pretty well.
So just to set the scene for our listeners out there, Sarah, you're a renowned Irish international bowler from a prestigious and well-known bowls family. Tremendous pedigree, I have to say. Mum Nolene, Dad Richard, and husband Robbie. You're also a mum to Terry and Ada. You're a wife, obviously. You're a breadwinner, a working mum as well in the civil service, I believe. And also, I would describe you, Sarah, as a bowls machine, title-winning machine, who recently has just won all the women's ILB senior titles. So my first question, Sarah, to you today is, how on earth do you do that?
I was just listening as you were talking there, thinking to myself, wow, that that doesn't sound like me at all. But to be honest with you, I don't actually know, because I do sometimes feel that the days are short and how do I squeeze it all in? But the truth of it is, all of the other things are just a part of my daily life, and that's really who I am. And then bowls is a huge part of my life, but at the same time, it's something I love tremendously, which means that it never feels like an effort or a chore or anything. All of it just feels, natural, and I always look forward to getting out on the green, whether that be for practice or matches or anything. But in terms of trying to balance working full time and the two small kiddos, you mentioned my family there at the start.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
Quite frank, I couldn't really participate at the level I am if I didn't have that kind of support from them. The fact that they are all bowlers makes a huge difference, because they understand what it takes, in terms of commitment and hours. And so they really do prop me up in terms of allowing me to go off and do my thing when I need to. And my wider family too, who are also bowlers, but maybe not as prolific.
Sure.
Robert's parents and his family and stuff are really supportive of me and my
Yes,
mom's
Noel.
wider
I mean,
family as well.
obviously, I got an opportunity to wave over to Noel, Robbie's dad, at the weekend. I didn't get a chance to speak to him, but obviously I know Noel as well, and a super bowler as well. And big shout out to him actually for I really like Noel, I have to say. But obviously a very strong family unit there. First of all, Sarah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. To be honest, my parents have played bowls since I was a very young child. My mum started playing short mat, and then they transitioned into playing outdoor bowls. And so I've been around bowling greens since I was probably Teddy's age, which is 5 or 6.
I'm sure.
And Robert's the same, to be fair. He's been bowling since he's been probably 10. I didn't quite start that young, but we've been around bowls our whole life. And then like Robert, the fact I met him playing bowls, like I met him when I was in Crumlin Bowling Club, and we've obviously made a life together since then. But yeah, like there's a lot of my life that's centered around bowls, and as far back as I said, I was a child. My grandparents also played as well, but not in Crumlin. They passed away before my parents moved to Crumlin Bowling Club. But so yeah, it's a long dynasty of bowls throughout the family. But I'm proud to still be playing and kind of carry on that tradition, I suppose.
And Sarah, obviously, with a lot of elite level bowlers, men and women, they come into bowls at a very young age. And you come into bowls, I'm led to believe, around your mid-20s, so slightly later than maybe the so-called normal.
Yeah. I mean, I was always into sport, still am. I love all sorts of sports. I mean, rugby, snooker, tennis. I watch anything, golf. I'll really be looking forward to the Ryder Cup coming up. So I always played a lot of sport when I was younger as well, particularly soccer. Played at quite a high level, won an All-Ireland medal at my school.
Wow.
So I always loved sport, but I was always busy doing other sports and not really interested in bowls. And as I said, my parents were playing throughout my entire childhood.
Of course, yeah.
And there was that kind of offer of you can come down anytime you like, but I just never really had the graw to go and do it, or the opportunity. And then when I finished college, I went traveling for a couple of years. And when I was in Australia, actually, because I went to live there for a year, we did the barefoot bowls a couple of times.
Sure, for a bit of crack.
Yeah, and it's obviously a totally different scene to what I was probably used to seeing here at the time, where you barbecue beers, running bare feet, sun is shining. It's just
very Crumlin-esque.
Well, I mean, we do sometimes have those days, but back, 10, 15 years ago when I started bowling,
sure,
we didn't really see much of those kind of
events.
No,
I was thinking more the weather.
Yeah, but so, like, I did it a few times socially in Australia, and then when I came home, I really think I was just at a loose end one day. My mum said, "Do you want to come down and have a roll up?" And literally started from there. So I was out on the green with my mum the first day, and that was the end of that in terms of hooking me in.
That was the bowling bug then really kicked in?
Yeah, absolutely. It really was. And I think I'm quite a competitive person, which, I mean, most people who are in the sports are, I suppose, in different ways. And so there was that kind of challenge to myself at the beginning I wanted to be good from early doors. And I was out there trying to, at that stage, you're just learning how to deliver the ball. And, so I was kind of determined to master that quite quickly. And yeah, it just kind of kicked me on from there, really.
Well, Sarah, I'm just looking at your bowling CV, and obviously you have played here. I'm just doing my maths here. Chris is working in the calculator here in the background, but you've been bowling now for 14 years. Some of your key highlights that I've noted down here, I'll just shout them out to our listeners. British Isles singles winner, Irish team captain, the team obviously achieving a silver medal, which we may touch upon as well. European pairs silver, world pairs quarterfinalist, 2023 World Championships in the Gold Coast, along with the Champion of Champions quarterfinalist in New Zealand. Then looking at the, domestically prolific winner, no more than recently by winning the 4 senior titles in the ILB. And then at national, Irish senior national level, you've remarkable success by achieving 1 singles win, 2 fours, and possibly very special achievement, winning the pairs 4 times. I presume the 4 times is with your mum?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it couldn't be more special to be able to play a sport on equal footing with your parents is a wonderful thing to do in the first instance, but to play at a competitive level and then to win things, it's really not the norm. It is a very kind of unique and unusual thing to be able to do, and it means a lot to me that I can have those memories with my mom, and I really do cherish that time with her. It's one of those things that we had a good relationship anyway, but now having experienced these things together, it's really bonded us
the highs
more,
and the highs and lows of 4 national pairs, I'm sure, is quite interesting around the dinner table,
Yeah, well, this is it. We didn't win at the start when we first started playing together because, you'll know from from all your success as well, that like a good pairs partnership takes time to bed in, and you've got to get used to how people play and their mentality and the kind of shots they like and how their bows perform. And, it was in, so first couple of years we were finding our feet, but once we got into our stride, like, the communication between us on the green, like we don't even really have to say very much to each other. It's just kind of all almost telepathic.
Just happens. And Sarah, who actually skips that pair? Because I'm actually not sure. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not actually sure who skips it. And has the same person always skipped it?
No. So, well, yes and no. Mom has always skipped it. And the only time we changed that was literally in the final of the pairs national last week.
Right. Okay. Right.
So Mom has been talking about it for a while, but because we were winning and we'd been doing so well,
of course, why would you change? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My position was, why would we change something that's working?
Yeah.
But I suppose Mom just feels maybe that time was always going to come to maybe flip it around. But look, it's funny because I'm not sure the dynamic will work the exact same way with me skipping. It might be a little different, but look, it worked last week. We obviously were lucky enough to come away from the ladies nationals last weekend with the pairs title again. So that
super. Was congratulations again.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a nice one because it was really, really tricky conditions there last weekend. I won't lie, probably some of the toughest I've ever played in.
Okay.
So I feel like we kind of fell across the line really in the end, but we did
it's always
get there,
nice. It's always nice to follow. As long as you get across the line, it's always nice to, whether you fall across it or coast, it's always great to get across it. And Sarah, just looking at some of those career highlights, is there, obviously that's a very special one. I can see that. I can hear that in your, in the conversation with winning those titles with Mum. But is there anything else that stands out to date that you're pretty proud of? And I do appreciate I'm putting in the spot because it is quite a significant list. But is there anything that jumps out?
Yeah, I mean, winning the British Isles singles last year was very special. I don't think I could have ever dreamed that I would get to that level of success when I first started bowling. Well, not least because I probably didn't understand how hard it would be to do that when I first started bowling. But I've obviously been playing at an international level now for quite a number of years. So I do know what it takes, and I do know how difficult it is to get there in the first place. So to have the opportunity to play in the final and then win it was an incredible experience. And I'm not normally very emotional about results either way, positive or negative, if I'm honest. But that was truly, I did shed a tear afterwards when it had kind of settled, because it was the kind of thing that just took a few minutes to land. But when it did, I was, well, probably in the main, I'd say, because A, the magnitude, but B, the manner in which the final went, and that I raced to a really, really good lead.
I was just going to say, obviously, you did like just get out of the block so quickly and get into a brilliant lead. And then as can happen, you're looking for that one shot, that two shots type of thing. But you got the job done. Yeah,
and truthfully, it was the calmest I've ever been playing a singles match, I suppose. And I was playing, I got out of the trap so well. I was playing unbelievable balls, to be honest with you. I was absolutely nailing it. And when she got the shot, I knew she'd change the jack length. I knew she would, because I had gotten into such a rhythm on what I was playing. And I didn't start playing badly. I actually still was playing quite well. She just started to get it that fraction better than I did. And slowly but surely the ends were ticking over. And I was calm enough saying, right, well, you know what? Just keep ticking over here, just keep the head. But it just was building, the sense of,
I totally get
closer now.
The pressure, very much so.
Absolutely. And as I said, I was still playing pretty decent bowls, so I still had that slight bit of confidence that I could do it, but she got to 17 and I had put
anything can happen.
Good ones. Well, this is it, yourself in singles, when you get to 17 it's game on. But she got to 17 and I had put two good balls in the head, and she pulled a jack through and she was holding 4 for game.
Don't.
And I know, yeah, like, can you imagine? And so I had to walk back down to the mat, and I remember it was the slowest walk of my life, or it felt that way anyway. And I had last bowl, and I had the jack had sprung out, obviously, so it was off centre, and it was kind of not far from the ditch. And it was all or nothing, and I sent it up, and you're just kind of going, oh, please. And it made its way up, and everyone on the sideline who was there to support me was cheering it. And I just knew, I liked it when I let it go,
Did
but I
you?
just knew when it got closer, because I was playing Steph Branfield. I just knew by
Yes, I
her
remember
face.
your playing Steph, yeah.
And it just stopped and fell in, and I knew by her face that it was the shot. So I
Oh,
just collapsed at that stage
beautiful.
because I was so relieved.
Beautiful. What a feeling of elation. I mean, you probably couldn't get a better way to win it, actually, to feel the pressure of possibly losing that final, but then actually to get the elation of playing the winning bowl. So fair play to you, and I do remember it. And actually, I saw last week or the week before that Steph actually won the English singles again.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
She's won it 4 times, I think,
wow,
or well,
okay.
3 or 4 times. So yeah, she's an incredible singles player, and
Yeah.
like as I said, truly, she played well in that final too. It was, but
Of
I just,
course. And again, I can see parallels with yourself there, because obviously her father, Pip Branfield, is a
yeah,
very highly decorated English player from Somerset. Absolute gentleman as well, I have to say, but he was a fantastic player. So obviously, like yourself, the apple hasn't fallen very far from the tree.
yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, to win the English national singles on a number of occasions is pretty good feat. Like it's particularly difficult thing to do as well.
And Sarah, the other thing there that I note is obviously your international elite breakthrough was probably, am I right in saying, the World Championships in Australia, 23?
Yeah, 2023. Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been pretty good buzz as well to make that five-person team, 5-lady team.
Yeah, I had been picked for the team in 2020. Just after I had my son Teddy, I got a phone call from Neil to say I'd been picked, and I was like beyond chuffed. I was absolutely thrilled. And then, of course, as everyone knows, it didn't happen because of COVID. And so I really wasn't sure if I was going to get the chance again. You sort of question whether or not I'll just be able to be still competing at that level, by the time we get around to 2023. But in fairness to Neil as well, and the high performance team and coaches, like I got a few chances to go to the multi-nations event, and then we played a test series against Malta and Australia in 2022. And so there was a couple of trips out to Australia leading up to the World Championships that I was lucky enough to be selected for. And that really gave me a bit of a sense of the Australian greens, because I had never played. As I said, I played just very, in the barefoot balls, nothing really seriously or competitively on the Australian greens before. So it was a real test. And look, I was really proud then to get the call up then to 2023 team and be part of such an amazing squad of women as well. To be able to
Oh, the
say I had
ladies.
my place amongst them, I was thrilled.
Yeah, obviously we had Shauna on the podcast previously, and obviously, we're all aware of, the girls and, their triples bronze medal. But you guys in the pairs were oh so close. And I'm delving into my memory here, but I think it was Malaysia
Yeah,
that got you
Malaysia.
in a really, really close game. Fantastic effort, as I'm sure you'll remember vividly.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that we didn't really get off to a good start in the game, and they got a good foothold in the game, and it was probably just on the cusp of being out of our reach, and we got a few shots back, and it just gave us that belief to feel, right, no, we've still got a chance. There's still enough ends, we've got to dig in here. And we did, and we chipped away at the lead, and we got within, I think it was within 2 shots or a shot, I can't remember exactly, but we were fighting going into the last end, and it really came down to the last bowls, and we narrowly missed out, and it felt painful at the time, because when you're down enough in a match and then you get that chance to come back, you sort of feel it might be the one that got away afterwards. But in fairness to the Malaysian pair, superb, and they went on to win the gold
Yeah,
medal.
that's right.
So, absolutely cracking pair they are, and deserved winners in the end, and they played a particularly good final against Malta. So yeah, look, it was a fantastic experience, and you know what, you learn so much from all of these, win or lose, being part of that elite team, and the being at the World Championships was eye-opening in terms of certain aspects of the game, and for my own personal development as a player, I really learned a lot from all of that. So that's never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing, Sarah. And obviously all that experience. And again, I say relatively, like, your 14-year career as such, that World Championship experience is obviously going to stand you in great stead going forward, I'm sure. And you've already said there you've learned so much from it. Obviously, you're heading away to Canada pretty soon and then Hong Kong later in the year. So I'm sure you'll be able to put into practice everything you've learned, certainly from the World Championship experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to take part in that Atlantic Challenge in Windsor in Canada with a full Irish squad, men, women and para team, which is the first actually time I've been involved in an event that had the para team included as well, which is hugely positive for the sport. And it's a pleasure to be included in that group going over. So yeah, I don't really know what to expect with the Canadian Greens, but obviously the teams that we're playing against, so Canada, USA, Scotland, I've had the opportunity now to know some of these players, play against them. I've been competing with them in other events before now, so that's where all the learning comes, and that you've had the exposure to playing at this level against this kind of opponent, and the kind of intensity of it at this kind of competitions, so looking forward to that. And Hong Kong, I was there once before in 2016, and wow, Hong Kong is an experience, what an incredible place to go and to see. And then the bowls as well, it's a really diverse mix of opponents from across the world, across the continent. So, it's a nice format as well in terms of the sets play and stuff, which really is, a big difference for us here from our domestic game, and that was something I've had to kind of evolve into playing as well through the elite events I've been in, the sort of sets play in both singles and pairs. So yeah, look, it's all good. It's all really good for development overall. And it doesn't really matter how long you've been playing, there's always room for that.
Yeah, no, very much so, Sarah. And obviously you alluded to the fact that the Atlantic Challenge event is, the first time including para, which is a tremendous accolade for the 4 participating countries and indeed for World Bowls. And they're very keen to push that, as we are indeed here in Ireland as well. Obviously, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a real testament, by the way, to you and Chris in terms of how far we've come in that space in such a short period of time. Is such a positive thing for Irish bowls and for bowls generally. One of the huge selling points for it, for any person who's thinking of taking up bowls, is the fact that it's so inclusive as a sport. And this, just serves to prove that. So look, well done to you and Chris on your commitment and your work in that space, because you guys are really driving it forward. So well done to you both.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. I see Chris raising a smile over here in the background. Chris does a lot of his good work in the background over here, but he's chuckling now, so you've made him smile. Not easy done, I have to say.
I'm just going to say one thing there, Sarah. Obviously, you said you played barefoot bowls in Australia while you lived there just for a year, but you've obviously went to the Gold Coast and the World Championships, quarterfinalists in the pairs, then the World Champion of Champions in New Zealand, quarterfinalists in 2024. Obviously, totally different conditions playing down there. Would it be fair to say that the sort of the trips you had in the past before those, with the Ireland team out to Australia, and that helped a lot with you being able to adjust into those conditions?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I could never have really envisaged quite how impactful the pace, the green with the wind and the conditions could have been just by somebody telling me. Like, it's not something you can really compute in your mind until you've experienced it yourself on the greens. Particularly in New Zealand, like the wind conditions out there were beyond anything I'd experienced before. When you add that on top of the pace of the greens, compared to what we're used to, like in the ILB, we would have quite a diversity of surfaces because there's quite a lot of synthetic greens in our leagues, and they're all varying carpets, so that like they all play at different paces and so forth. So there is an element of experience there, but it is still would never have been anything like the greens in Australia, in Gold Coast and in New Zealand. Totally different experience. And yeah, like I would never have been able to compete for my spot on that World Bowls team had I not have had the opportunity to go on those trips beforehand. I don't think,
Yeah, I think it's proved that the ones in the past, you don't want your first experience in those sort of conditions to be playing in the tournament, because you're probably out of it before you get a chance to get used to them. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think that being part of the high performance team's plans to have that exposure to the conditions And not just, the greens are obviously a huge part of that, but the whole trip itself, because there's the jet lag, the traveling, like a lot of some people would not have experienced that before. And it's something to factor in because you want everybody out there performing at their best, and those things can impact our performance. So
I think
it was definitely the right thing to do, to invest in that time ahead of the World Championships themselves.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's not just on the green. The preparation needs to be right off the green, so as you then can perform at your best when you're on the green.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like as I said, the hype over the last number of years, because I've been involved in the Irish setup before we had a high performance coach, in an official capacity, and there's been a huge sea change there in terms of having the person at the helm there to pull together a strategy on how we're going to develop our elite squads and what that entails. And to be fair to Neil, he's led the way in that sense, and he's the results have proved that the strategy is working. The Irish team has been so successful in his tenure over the last number of years, and that's testament to all of the preparatory works that go in ahead of the actual tournaments themselves, which is all behind the scenes stuff from the high performance team. But then the players are doing a lot outside of the greens as well to prepare themselves. So I think the results speak for themselves.
That's great. I'll let Ian go on here. I have one other burning question to ask you, but I'll hold on to that just for the moment.
So Sarah, just to pick your brains before we draw things to a conclusion, in terms of getting more women and girls into our sport, how do we do that better? Obviously, we've talked about the opportunities that bowls presents, the diversity, the inclusion, all ages can play, a sport for all. So what's your views? What can we do better in terms of, certainly the women and the girls and getting them into our sport?
Well, I think one of the major things that we need to do in Ireland is we need to amalgamate our governing bodies for a start, because I think we need to create an environment that's, equality across para, women, men, a sort of one association for all bowlers. And I know that, there's been talk of it, and, it's on the table.
Apparently, Sarah, there's been talks about talks.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. I was going to say there's been talks about it, but it is moving at a very slow pace.
Yes.
So, I mean, that would be one thing I would like to see move along, a bit quicker.
Fair call. That's
and that's call. Not going to change. That will change a lot, but at the same time, there's other things that can be done.
Sure.
I think and it's not that for bowls, as I said, because it's sort of very inclusive. It doesn't really matter what age you are if you want to try bowls. You could start at any age. But I suppose if we're really trying to develop grassroots for potentially kind of a younger generation at the very least, we need to begin sort of the live streaming a bit better, I think, because that generation of people are used to having that everything at their fingertips, access to everything online, and we're a little bit behind in that regard. Not in other countries, like I think in Australia, they've really kind of brought that piece on a lot, and they've definitely, they've got some of the networks televising some of their games. We're not really at that level in Ireland yet, but at the same time, we could be streaming even our national finals, which didn't happen this year. I know that there may have been some technical reasons why that couldn't have happened, but that kind of thing I think could really go a long way into improving it, because you'll get engagement from people who are not necessarily bowlers, and then you're getting access to people then regardless.
Yeah, I think in terms of streaming, we do, as an Irish Bowls Federation, and I'm not speaking for them as such, but we do dip in and dip out. So sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't, but I suppose it's the consistency behind that, and it's certainly probably fair to say that it could be more consistent and improved. That's probably a fair comment. Yeah,
I think, because I do think it's something people would be interested to see, and because I often see things that I might watch a live stream of matches that are happening in England, Australia, wherever, and you can see the comments in it, people watching from all over the world. It's not just
for sure, very much so.
It's a wide audience to be reached, and I think it's something that could be a useful thing to improve engagement with the sport. Because if we're not visible to people, whether that be online or physically, it's going to be very hard to convince people to partake.
And Sarah, in terms of the working woman, the working girl, getting them into the sport of bowls, any ideas or thoughts there? how we could
Well,
do
look,
it better?
yeah, I mean, I spent the first few years of my bowling career because your bread and butter is your league matches. That's where you start out kind of playing regularly, getting regular game time and competitive matches under
Sure.
your belt, playing league in your club really. And I started my career playing in the evenings in a junior division because that at the time was the only available league for women that wasn't during the day. Now, I mean, to be fair, I was a junior standard myself at the time, so
Yeah,
like it was relevant. But there was a Tuesday evening. It was a one rink league, and all of the women who played in it basically worked. And the kind of top level at the time played on a Wednesday afternoon, which really wasn't accessible to anybody that had any potential or was anyway decent for them to partake in it because just they couldn't play on Wednesday
of
afternoon.
course. Yeah,
So
you're
I'm
working.
glad to say we've moved forward from that a bit. I'd like to see it have moved forward a bit better. Um, Same with the championships and the competitions secretaries and so forth. Like we've in our association, we've moved on from the fact that you have to play at 2:30, you can play at 6:30. All of those things have helped improve the game, but we could still do more. I'm pleased about the fact that the ILB has amalgamated, ladies and men together, and we've one competition secretary now, and we've mixed leagues, and all of those things I think have gone a long way to promoting younger women who work into playing at competitive league levels
Of
because
course.
they can now play on a Saturday, which is the kind of elite league level. Well, it always was kind of the top men's levels, but now it's mixed and, there's those opportunities now. So that's what I mean, going back to the conversation about our national governing bodies. If we don't amalgamate, those opportunities won't open themselves up for women.
Sure, and obviously, Sarah, you would be seen as a role model, across Ireland, but especially within the ILB. And I know there's a number of great, talented girl bowlers down there. We have Amy and we have Izzy Nolan as well. So I'm sure they look up to you, and I'm sure you put your arm around them on occasions and give them some advice, or maybe they give you advice. I don't know.
That's true. I mean, I sometimes learn from them, but yeah, no, look, I try my best, to be a mentor where I can. It's a little bit easier for me maybe with Amy because we play in the same club, and she
Yeah,
plays with me in the triples, and actually I play with her on our rink in the league. So I've seen her a lot, and I have that sort of close proximity to be able to give her the odd bit of advice here and there, which I hope she has found useful. And it's more just imparting the benefit of my experience to her as opposed to, any great worldly advice. It's more just, I've walked her shoes, 10 years ago, and
fair call.
I've kind of been through some of the scenarios that she's been through. And so it's, helpful sometimes to have somebody just, sit and listen and understands, where you're coming from
Oh,
about
very much
things
so.
that you
Yeah,
might.
it's great to have that on your doorstep, and I love your phrase of walking in her shoes type thing. That sort of really summarizes everything. To be fair, in terms, Sarah, of your goals and ambitions going forward, obviously you're going to Canada, you're going to Hong Kong, but what sits on top of all of that? What does Sarah Kelly want to get out of this sport in the real longer term? Big question.
Yeah, but actually, it's something I've thought about. So I mentioned earlier on about getting picked for the 2020 World Bowls team didn't happen because of COVID, and my goal at that stage was right. I just want the opportunity as a bowler to participate in the World Championships. I'm clearly potentially just about there at that level if I've been picked for the previous team. So let's dig in here, see if I can get picked for the next one, which I did. And I joked to Robert, my husband at the time, well, not sorry, he's still my husband, but at the time I joked to my husband.
Yes, I know.
Um,
I'm sure Robbie will get a chuckle out of that one. Yeah, husband at the
I, I,
time.
jo-
I think that's what you
I
said.
joked to
Yeah.
him at the time that all I want to do is make this World Bowls team get to experience World Championships, and then I'll retire.
Ah, right.
And he's
Okay. Yes, that old chestnut.
yeah, he's still quoting me now. A number of years blown past that point. But the truth of it is, once I got that experience and got the taste of being there and getting to the quarter final,
Yeah.
I was thinking, I want another chance at this. I want to be here competing at this at the next one, and like that's really truly my goal. But you know what? you've mentioned already, the talent we have coming through on the ladies' side is unreal, to be honest. And so, I'm humble enough to know that I may not get that chance, but that's certainly what I'll work towards, is to try and fight for a spot there on the next team and put myself in the mix for winning a medal if possible. I suppose you've got to believe that you can. And after the last World Championships, realizing that we were truly competing there for a medal.
Yeah.
It's made me more sure than ever that, like, we can do it. I can do it, and we as a team can do it. So that would be my goal, I think. And if I got the chance to do that and won a medal at that, I would gladly retire.
And we have it on record now, actually, as well.
Yeah,
so it's not just a conversation with Robbie. We have it on record. But no, seriously, more part of your elbow. Young family, breadwinner, bowling champion, multiple winner, and to keep yourself at the fore of Irish elite bowls and world bowls is a testament to you and also your support network, your family, and fair play. Like, I know how much, I have a 9-year-old Ethan, and I know how much he is dependent on his mum and things like that. Probably a little less dependent on myself. I don't know if that's the same in your household, but mum's everything. So look, I'm in awe of what you have achieved and what you've done to date in your bowling career, Sarah. I have to say that. So fair play to you and indeed your family. One question I'm going to ask you before I hand over to Chris here, who's going to deliver the Jack-in-the-Box perfect bowler, I believe, is who is the best bowler in the household, in the family? Is it Richard? Is it Nolene? Is it Robbie? What? Is it yourself? I mean, who makes that call?
Well, it depends on what angle you're coming from, I suppose, Ian.
Okay.
We do often joke about this. It's funny because Robert won the National Fours, men's National Fours at the weekend, and I was there, and so were the kids. And at least 3 or 4 people asked my 2 kids who is the best bowler.
Ah, right, okay, yes, good call.
And to be fair to both of my poor kiddos, they knew well enough to give a political answer to whoever they were answering at the time.
Beautiful.
So yeah, look, it's funny because when I first started playing, and myself and Robert were going together before we were married.
Yeah.
He is a successful bowler now, but he was then too, and he was playing on the Irish squad at that time.
Yes.
And everywhere I went around bowls at that time, people used to say to me, "Oh, you're Sarah, you're Robbie's partner." And I'd say, "Yeah." "Oh, here, yeah, nice to meet you." And now he jokes that he gets, "Oh, you're Sarah's husband, Robert."
Touche.
Yeah.
No, fair call. That's quite funny, I have to say. Chris?
Yes, Ian just took my burning question away from me, because I was going to ask the same, because I'm sure that's what the listeners wanted to know. I mean, these national titles and British Isles titles are all fine, but, they really wanted to know, had you ever played Robbie in a competitive match? And if so, who came out with bragging rights? So.
Well, it's funny because we would sometimes go and roll up together, in the club. And, at the beginning of this season, we were out and we played a little singles match and he won. And he says, "That's it then. I'm the British Isles champion now. I've taken your belt from you." So, but look, it's good to have that, like a competitive practice with somebody who's at a good level, Yeah. But truly, I couldn't, I suppose, let the moment pass, though, without saying, though, that, I mentioned earlier on, playing our mum's been a pleasure, but having learned all I could learn from her, like, she has been an absolutely incredible mentor to me, and I would not be where I am had it not been for her guidance and her patience with me, So, yeah, I should say that. My mum is an incredible bowler.
Yeah.
And
I know where you're coming from, Sarah, with the family, because my mum played bowls, my father played bowls, my brother, my aunt, uncle, granny, granda, and everybody always told us that our mum was the best bowler. So, it always goes around the family, but it's always good to have family playing with you and supporting you. And they do understand what's on. So we're going to do the perfect bowler now, Sarah. I don't know if you're aware of it, but basically all your answers have to be somebody that is from Ireland. They don't have to necessarily be living in Ireland at the moment, but their origin was from Ireland. Can be male or female. Can be somebody who plays short mat, indoor, outdoor. You can only choose one person for each. But if we get on to a question further along the list and you think, oh, well, the person who used earlier on would be better for that, you can't change.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just going to start off. Ian's going to keep a note of who you say, and then he'll come out with your perfect bowler at the end. So the first one is the best on the draw shot.
Best on the draw. I'm gonna say my mom, because when she's drawing well, you can't live with her. Like, she's a superb drawing bowler.
Fair enough. I think I'd have been disappointed if your mum didn't make it in somewhere along the line. So it's good to start with.
Yeah.
Get that one ticked off the list early. So it is the most prepared.
The most prepared. I'm gonna say Barbara Cameron, because we're lucky enough she's part of the coaching team now, and she's still obviously bowling competitively, and I've had some ding dongs against her at inter-association level still.
Yep.
But what always stands out for me with Barbara is she is always so prepared for everything, and she's always kind of making sure that we are thinking about things that you might not have thought of. And one of the things that springs to mind is she'd always mention to bring a spare pair of bowling shoes in case it rains, and I'm thinking to myself, I've never in my life thought to bring a second pair of bowling shoes, but that's Barbara for you.
Barbara doesn't miss out on too much.
No, she doesn't.
That is preparation. Fair play.
It is.
The best on the drive shot.
Best on the drive. It can be male or female.
Male or female, yes. Just wherever you...
I've got to say Gary Kelly.
Okay, Gary's appeared in that best bowler for the drive for a few people.
Yeah, no, I've never seen anything like it, to be fair.
Okay, the best delivery, the smoothest delivery.
Well, actually, do you know what I'm going to say? Because I had the pleasure of watching the men's singles final, national final at the weekend, and Richie Leonard was playing Ryan McElroy, and I actually commented at the time, Ryan McElroy's delivery was absolutely beautiful. He's silk. It's truly smooth as anything. Yeah, very good.
Very good. The best under pressure, the big P. We always get it. Obviously, you felt it when you drew your shot with game against you.
Oh, yeah, but I certainly wouldn't be putting me in that bracket. Best under pressure. I've just mentioned him there, but again, I'm lucky enough to be playing with him week in, week out in the league. But Richie Leonard is, incredible competitor that is cool as a cucumber under pressure now.
The best team player. Somebody's always giving their best for the team, just motivating, just keeping everybody up. The best team player.
Ashley Rainey, by far. Yeah.
Okay. The mentality monster.
I think I'm gonna. Yeah, actually, Shauna is probably the best I've experienced. Like her mindset is so good for someone of her age. She has such wisdom. Like she obviously
Shauna learnt her trade in the short mat, and obviously had a very good teacher in her father, who's a top short mat player. So, she got a lot of strategy and got her mindset very well at an early age. And she does display sort of a knowledge and experience way beyond her youth, is probably the way to put it.
And having spoken to her then, like post-match, about things that, you might analyse, she just always has a really kind of knowledgeable perspective on things. Yeah, so she's got a really good comparison.
The funniest.
Ooh, who's very funny? Well, actually, I'm going to say Sandra Bailey, because some of the things she comes out with would be not safe for work in terms of this podcast. But yeah, she's very funny.
And last but not least, but very important within Irish Bowls, the best on a night out. Obviously, after you've played the tournament and won everything, but the best on a night out.
Night out. Oh, God. I mean, who could I say? Maybe Chloe? I mean, there's a few girls like that have just been absolutely nuts over the years. Megan Morrow being one, and just like absolutely fantastic personalities. But yeah, I suppose in current terms, Chloe maybe.
Okay, and I'm going to get Ian to run through that all, but just off the top of my head, I don't think Hubby got mentioned in any of those, did he?
Oh dear.
Just thought I'd mention that, just in case he's listening when this comes out. Now you'll be prepared then.
So just quick recap, Sarah. You're Jack in the Box, perfect Irish bowler. Best on the draw shot is your mum, Nolene. Most prepared is Barbara Cameron with her 2 pairs of bowling shoes. Best on the drive is Gary Kelly. Best under pressure is Richie Leonard. Best delivery is Ryan Silky McElroy. Best team person, Ashley Rainey. Mentality monster, Shauna O'Neill. the funniest, the best crack, unrepeatable, some things, Sandra Bailey, and the best in a night out. Close call, but Chloe Wilson just gets the nod.
Yeah.
So well done you. Have you put all those component parts together? I'm not sure what sort of Irish bowler you would have, but it's your Irish bowler, so fair call. So I think that really draws us to a conclusion, Chris. So Sarah, it just remains for me to say on behalf of Chris and I, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We really enjoyed the chat, the crack, the conversation. Many congratulations on your career to date and on your achievements. You are undoubtedly a ladies' role model within Irish bowls and on the world stage as well. And we probably just want to wish you well in Canada and in Hong Kong and in all your future endeavours.
Oh, thanks, Ian. I mean, you've been very kind there, but I do appreciate it. And as I said at the start, it's a pleasure to be asked to be on the podcast. And yeah, look, keep doing what you're doing. The podcast is a great thing to come out of the Irish bowl scene in the last number of years. I'm sure everybody's really looking forward to every episode. So yeah, well done to you too.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Speak soon.
Talk soon. Thank you.
Well, Chris, that was pretty good chat there with Sarah. I really enjoyed that. I have to say, some really good insights.
Yes, for somebody who took up the bowls relatively late compared to, a lot of the other ones, in the 14 years, she's an awful lot of achievements and no doubt a few more to come.
Yeah, I would think, Sarah will be about Irish bowls for a pretty long time. But again, really interesting there just to find out about, the working mum coming into bowls slightly later than the norm, and the list of achievements she's actually got is pretty remarkable.
Yes, well, it shows, obviously she's managed to get that balance right, but be able to get that balance right because of the support she's had with family. And obviously having family that have a bowling background and understand, what it's about has meant a lot and helped.
Yeah. And obviously one of the things that we're interested in as well is trying to get more women and girls into sport. And that's such a big theme in Northern Ireland and indeed Ireland as a whole. And just to hear a little bit more about that and try and understand it a little bit.
Well, I thought that was good. She did make the point that when she started, she was working, but there was a league on a Tuesday night that she was able to play. So she was able to play competitive bowl straight away.
Yeah.
And obviously that has then expanded and there's more availability of leagues, but it shows the importance of a league when people are not playing or, working.
Chris, it's been fun.
As always.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Jack in the Box, and we look forward to our next episode.